Welcome race drivers, this is Enzo with the Race Driver Coach Show. Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit more personal. Being a race driver, as you probably know, it's difficult. We talk about the sponsorship, we talk about the driving technique, we talk about the mindset and the mental skills needed, but we don't talk enough about you running your normal life, your personal life. And today's on about that. It's on about friends, girlfriends, how to balance things. And before I say too much, this was the question that made me want to do an episode on this. It's from Stephen, and he asked, I'm fully committed on chasing my racing career, but it's difficult balancing this with my personal life in respect to my girlfriend and friends. What do drivers do with this predicament? Straight off the top, when you're trying to do something that's a little bit different, it's a little bit out there, that's not the norm, not the 9-to-5 job. They don't really teach you the kind of skills you need at school to do the career that you want, like being a race driver. I'm afraid there's a conflict, because usually the people you grow up with, they went to school with, they fall in love with, you hang with, they might not have the same goals. So their lifestyle is completely different. Because if you're doing something that is out the norm, it means working hours when other people are not, when they're at home, they're relaxing, they're having an enjoyment time, it's weekend, that's when you're working. And it's the same when you're setting up a business. If you're trying to hold down a job and you're trying to set up a business, you have to work pretty much 16 hours a day then. And that doesn't leave much time for your personal life. And if you do spend more time on your personal life, then your goal suffers. So it's all about time allocation. And obviously, when you're trying to go for something and you're putting all your time, life balance, work-life balance is not great when you're chasing something, right? Or it's not perfect. When you're going for something like this in a career, it's obvious that you're going to start to sacrifice the people in your life to a certain extent. You're not going to see them as much, right? And that causes a bit of conflict, as you know. To give you a backstory, I was the kid, 17 years old, 18 years old, who you would see at McDonald's car park or at the gas station. They're just hanging out, up to no good, doing burnout, just trying to entertain themselves and get up to no good, basically. I was that kid. And I did that on the night time. I was delivering pizzas up till midnight. And then after that, go and hang with the mates, probably back at 4 a.m, go to sleep, wake up just before the afternoon and start it all again, go back to the pizza shop. And that was my life for a while after school, after college. And I was kind of like I suppose I was lost in a way, but I was just being a normal kid doing normal kid stuff. However, the burning desire to be a professional race driver came through, become more of a priority. And when that happened, obviously, my lifestyle naturally changed. I saved up as much as I could to buy my first race car. Got all the money in I could in any way possible, bought it, and once I was on that journey, this was inspiring me massively when I was on this very initial journey of racing. Took the car there, ran it myself and everything. You can imagine the kind of work that took, because I had to get sponsors in as well. All of a sudden, I'm working the nighttime, doing pizzas, get into bed, obviously, straight away to work the day and get sponsors and run it and make sure I can pay for this racing. So I was doing multiple jobs. So all of a sudden I couldn't really go and see my friends as much. That doesn't go down too well, of course. When they're used to you being there, whether you're the center of attention or whatever, they're used to you being there. They start to judge you. They say you've changed. What's going on? Oh, what's up with Enzo now? And the dynamic completely changes. And if you're in a relationship, that changes as well, because you can't spend much time with them. It's difficult. Any person who wants to do something that's kind of out of the norm, that takes a lot of hours to do, it could be a hobby or it could be a career, you've only got so much time in a day. The personal life suffers, or you sacrifice it to a certain extent. But when you're on that journey, you shouldn't care. Having time with friends, okay, you always can spare a little bit of time, but they've got to understand that you are on a mission and it's important to you and you're filling your hours doing that. And eventually everyone gets it. Okay, if you've got 10 mates that you hang around with, probably only one will stick around. One will support you if you're really lucky. That's what happened to me. And the others, it's not that they don't care, but they just have less in common with you, and they don't see you as often, so you fall away, which you probably do naturally anyway over years. But it's just accelerated when you're going for a career. And I just really want everybody to understand that this is completely normal. It doesn't feel nice when you're not seeing people and having as much fun, as we say, out there. But you should be getting fun or having fun, receiving fun, having massive pleasure, chasing your dream. And just understand that if you're chasing a racing career, it's lonely. I mean, take Liam Lawson, who came from New Zealand. I've had so many drivers from New Zealand, actually. And when they come to the UK in their teens, like 16, 17 years old, they're on their own. And Liam probably saw his family once, maybe twice a year at the end of the year when he went back to New Zealand. But he didn't really have any friends. He had no other race drivers that he hung around with and stuff. And he wasn't in a relationship for a lot of the time. That's difficult. When you're chasing your dream, it sounds amazing. But being on your own day after day for hundreds of days on the nighttime, it's not easy. And when racing isn't going well, say you've had a string of bad results, you haven't got the family really to be there connecting with you. You can Zoom them, you can call them, but this is just the life. This is a reality. That's why I love seeing him get his chance in F1, because I know how long that journey's been. And he had relationships with girls that he had to hold down, and it's not easy because they're the other side of the world. Can you imagine that work-life balance? It's not just you that's going through this. It's very common, and you'll hear people say it all the time, right? That's why you see these successful people, we call them, going through relationships left, right, and center. It's hard for them to hold down a long-term marriage because you've got to get the right person. And that right person's got to fit for you and you've got to fit for them. And that takes time. You're not going to probably do it on your first crack. Then it comes to girlfriends and boyfriends, people you're in a romantic relationship with. This can get a little bit more confusing and complicated because you love them, right? You care about them more than anyone else in this world because passion's there, right? So you love your parents, you love your family, but when you're really in love, it feels like a next level, right? Especially when you're younger. Actually, it never changes. I'm still the same now with my wife, honestly, absolutely obsessed. But it now comes down to really selecting the right person. I've been both sides of this coin as well. My wife now, perfect, absolutely amazing. I love her. I find her attractive. She backs me. She lets me go and work because you know how many weekends I work a year with my F2 drivers and everyone else. It's a lot, right? It's a different commitment. I have to miss weddings. I've missed 2 best men weddings, right? When I was supposed to be the best man because I was going to coach or race. It is a bit of a push, I know, because most people say, oh, I'll never do that. The career means that much to me and it's me living my life. It's an easy one, right? But you need a partner who understands that. And when I was younger, I had a partner, you know, I loved her to bits, but she was demanding. Kind of got to the point where my racing, she made me feel like it was either me or the racing. You know, sorry, her or the racing. And that's difficult when you're a kid to go through that. And you're torn. And I want to just say that I understand. But the difficult realization that you must come up with or face is that when you're chasing something, the people that you share your life with, they must allow you to be you. They must be aligned with your career as well as your life must be. And if they're not, then I'm afraid you're going to have the difficult conversation. Otherwise, you're just going to be torn. You're going to be trying to spend time with them because they're basically giving you aggro. And they're making your life difficult. And they're threatening you to leave all the time. When you've got a goal that means a lot to you, and to be honest, it's rude. For someone to come into your life, and I don't want you to do this to anyone either, for someone who supposedly loves you to come into your life and expect you to fit into their life and they ignore what you want, downright rude. It's rude for them to come in to say how you must behave as well. And I want you to remember that in relationships. In a relationship, when you find someone, okay, it's all fluffy at the beginning, right? But I want you to really take that moment and understand that that person is who they are. They've got goals. They've got personality. Their personality is what it is. And me coming into their life, I have no right telling them how they must behave, what they must do in life, how they must treat me. I mean, that's a bit important to get across how you want to be treated. But if you're demanding and forcing your own viewpoints on them and expecting them to fit into it, you're not going to have a very good relationship, I'll tell you that much. And if you go into relationships like that, with these rules, with how they must act, and you expect them to, it's going to be difficult. And they can't do it to you either. So if they come into your life, you're pushing for your racing, you're living it, but then they try and take you away from it and judge you for it and tell you off for it, that's probably not the person for you. You're going to have to work less on your career. If you're happy with that, fine. But I tell you what, it's not going to play out well. So I want you to make sure that when it comes to romantic relationships, you choose a person who will let you be you and let you do you. You'll be so much happier. When you do leave a relationship like that without talking it through, you got to talk it through first. When you leave a relationship like that, it's painful. But I tell you what, you've always got to keep your future self in mind. So think about you next year. When they look back on now, will they be happy with your decisions? If you're in a toxic relationship where that person's controlling you and you feel torn and you can't work on your career, will next year's me be happy that I'm still in that relationship? Or will they have wished that I just left that person, maybe found someone else who's better for me, or just went it alone for a while and focused on my career? What does that future self of you want? That's where your head needs to be. And that makes decisions in the now a lot easier. As a reminder, when you're going for something, on the personal side, it's tough, but it's doable. You've just got to be organized. You got to have your future self in mind. And then eventually things work out.